Good evening. My name is Specialist Cameron Light, roster number 432. I'm going to be teaching about accountability and leadership. So let's begin. This is our agenda. Introduction, where I will introduce all points, issues that soldiers face, where we'll go into a sort of deep dive at why soldiers act the way they do when they have poor leadership, the effects of poor leaders and how that can be extremely detrimental to a unit, responsibilities of the NCO. The most important part of all of this is how you as an NCO can make sure that you're being a good leader instead of being a poor leader. Our conclusion, and any questions that you may have. So let's begin. I will be discussing the failings of leaders as well as its effects on the unit. And poor leadership has a systemic effect and a leader responsibility to soldiers and its unit. Now, to summarize all of that, good leadership and bad leadership will affect your unit, regardless of how you think you might be as a leader. Your Joes will do as you do, not as you say. And a good leader will make sure that his subordinates will grow and they will be able to carry forward in the military career instead of getting out after 2 or 3 years just because they've had poor leadership their entire career. These are the issues that soldiers face. Lower enlisted are 90% of active duty suicides. This was a statistic taken by the Pentagon, and it was published in Army Times. This statistic was taken from 2014 to 2019. Now, a lot of these issues that lower enlisted soldiers face is financial or relationship based, or even sharp related cases. A lot of them have no money, they bought a car or something like that that they can't afford. So because of that, they're in debt, massively so. And then you have others where their wives are divorcing them or their husbands are divorcing them and they're taking them for everything they have. As well as sharp sexual harassment, rape. Those are all things that can contribute to a soldier wanting to hurt themselves. But these are all lower enlisted soldiers. Now, why are these lower enlisted soldiers actually going and using the options available to them? Financial help, the chaplain's office, even just talking to the sharp representative. Now, where is it the failing of the leader of the NCO to inform their soldiers about what they have available to them, and where should that NCO be held responsible or accountable even? Because a soldier that they have takes their own life instead of seeking help. Some of this can also be attributed to, you could phrase it as bullying. Some young soldiers will come into the unit and they won't know material or they won't know the basics that they should have been taught in basic training. And now these younger soldiers get smoked or corrected, physically corrected every single day. And they become scared, they become meek and timid, and they're unfit for the modern battlefield because they're terrified to come into work. Because while smoking has an effect on some soldiers to make them stronger, tougher, more mentally resilient, as well as training their bodies, it does not work for all soldiers. The soldier that becomes the platoon whipping boy is not a soldier that will actually carry forward in the military and have a positive experience or career in the military. Now, why do leaders treat their soldiers poorly like this? Why do NCOs feel the need that sometimes they need to have a platoon whipping boy? Now, some of that stems from the soldier, or the mentality of, if a soldier will not be smart, they will be strong. And small mistakes get made, and these soldiers are constantly under the eye of their NCO until somebody new comes along. And that's also taking into account that many of these young soldiers also have problems where they're very slow on the uptake. They don't understand the military life. They have a hard time understanding military culture, and that holds them back. And that slows them down and hurts them. Now, how can leaders address problems with their soldiers? You'll run into a situation a lot of times where your soldiers you'll have your PT studs or your people that know their job inside and out, and they're favorited. It's favoritism. And then you have soldiers that are having problems or don't understand the material and they're constantly being smoked. And these soldiers are the ones that an NCO needs to take and guide, not just hammer the point through their skull. It is the NCO's responsibility, and they should be held accountable whenever a soldier is failing in a task. A soldier failing a task, some of it is held to the soldier, but it is also the responsibility of the NCO to teach that soldier. And when that soldier fails that task, the NCO should be the one that actually says, that is my responsibility to teach them, and I failed in that responsibility. Fix the poor leader. Now, what is the ideal leader? What is the leader that you'll be happy to serve with? Now, that is a leader that is a servant leader. That is a leader that listens to their soldiers, that distributes punishment as well as the rewards evenly and equally based on merit. And a leader that will stand with their soldiers and be accountable for actions that their soldiers may or may not have done. These are the NCOs that look at a soldier that has failed in the task and they say, I will bear the brunt of this because I am the reason you failed. I have failed you, and through me failing you, you have failed me. But a lot of the times these leaders start to slip, they start to fall away, or leaders themselves become poor leaders. And why is that? That's because leaders, sometimes they feel pressure. They feel pressure from their hires. Your platoon sergeant, if he starts pressuring your squad sergeant, section sergeant, however your unit is set up, that sergeant will then start pressuring your squad leader. Your squad leader will start pressuring your team leader. And that pressure will move and change hands. And eventually it'll end up on you as a lower enlisted soldier. And you have no authority and you have no responsibility. So that is the effect of the poor hire leadership. It's a loss of morale. Soldiers don't want to come to work because they don't feel the need to actually be at work. They don't feel the need to actually listen to their NCOs due to the fact that their NCOs treat them like garbage. Carrying forward. And this is where responsibility of the NCO comes into play. A created non-commissioned officer is a guide to being a good leader. An NCO teaches and trains their soldiers. From every moment of every day, there is a training opportunity for soldiers. They need to be trained so that they can carry on forward and fight, and react to contact, move forward, assault an objective, move supplies under stress, stitch up a battlefield casualty under stress. Any and all soldiers need to be taught and trained, and that is the responsibility of the NCO, is to teach and train their soldiers. And making sure that you're an NCO that your soldiers don't have a problem coming to, or an NCO that your soldiers are happy to come to ask questions because they're engaged in learning. That is what it means to be an NCO. And planning good training, not just sitting out back and running a glass house that you've run 10,000 times, a shoot house that will stress and test your soldiers in a way they've never been tested before. Teaching and training your tactics to teach your soldiers how to actually carry forward in their jobs and be the most effective soldiers that they can be. That is what it means to be an NCO. That is how you are going to be an NCO that your soldiers can look up to, and you will be accountable for their success instead of their failings. The NCOs are the backbone of the Army. We all know that. That is part of the NCO creed. And because of that, they are the most celebrated soldiers that we have. But they have a responsibility to their soldiers, and that responsibility is to teach and train and look out for their soldiers and be accountable whenever they have failed their soldiers in small ways and in large ways. and they maintain that standard. They must be the ones that maintain that standard. Your NCOs must be the ones that stand there and say, this is our standard, and we will hold ourselves to it. We will hold our superiors to theirs, and we will hold our lower enlisted soldiers to theirs. And we will make sure that they are taught, they will learn, and we will be effective on the battlefield. Questions? All right. Thank you very much. I would like to conduct a quick AAR. Are there any sustains or improves? Thank you very much. Have a good day.